Hello everyone, I'm Teresa Miller and welcome to Writing Out Loud. My guest today is illustrator Kim Donor, author-illustrator Kim Donor.
Shortly to be, yes.
Shortly to be. Which one dominates, illustrator or author?
Oh, the illustrator. I always think in color, I always visualize, and if you listen to me talk, I will say things like, well, do you see what I mean? Which is an artist's way instead of, are you hearing me? Which might be more of an author's way to ask.
Well, that might be, but you come at it from two perspectives.
I do. My eyes and my ears, they're pretty important.
When you were young, did you just have a natural gift, or was drawing something you learned?
That was something I've always done. I'd spend the night with my grandparents on a Saturday night, and they'd have friends over to play this real boring card game called Bridge.
Yes, I've heard of it.
Nanny, I want something to do. And so they'd hand me a little pad of, like you take down a telephone number, a scratch pad, and I would just fill it with drawings and all when I was very, very young. And I mean, I'd show it to Nana, and she'd, oh, you're the best artist in the world. And I believed her. Of course, it kept me quiet for about 2 or 3 hours, which, you know, if you're going to be making a grand slam at bridge, you need a silent child. So.
Well, of course. Did you ever do any drawings on the wall when you were young? We did. It ended my art career early.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
See, I don't recall doing that. I don't remember that. I come from a family that's great support system to me, and I could have done just about anything and someone would have told me it was great. So I kind of tra-la-la'd through life thinking everything I did was really super, and then it was smack, smack, smack when I got a little bit older. But by that time I had this inner conviction that they just must not know.
Kim, is being an artist just a way of life for you?
I guess it is. I haven't ever been anything else, so I can't tell you that it's not, but I can't imagine not expressing myself. The thought of being in any situation where I'm repressed or kept in a whole lot of structure and it's very rigid and punishing, I'd probably go crazy. I'm so lucky to be in America today.
I've heard you described as joyful and playful. Is it important for the artist to nurture the child within her?
That's the only person I know. I mean, yes, that's my best buddy is, 8-year-old Kim.
Is that hard sometimes to balance the playful side with all the responsibilities you have as an adult, because you're a mother and you're out promoting books and you have deadlines now that you're so successful? How do you handle all that?
Well, I'd forgotten all about that.
So I remind you about the deadline. When is that deadline?
I have one that's August 1st.
August 1st, and this is June, and you're going to make it just fine.
I am. There are some sleepless nights coming up,
Sure.
but I try not to think about that either. I try to think about what would be the most fun thing to put in the picture I'm working on at the moment, and trying to stay in the moment and trying to stay in touch with having fun with it no matter what.
How many children do you have, Kim?
I have 2 daughters, Sophie and Lucy.
And I bet you've read a lot of books to them over the years, and you've seen a lot of illustrations.
Lots.
How do you keep yours fresh?
Oh, I do read lots of other people's work. That's a real biggie for me. I get inspired by what inspires them, and I go and visit lots and lots of schools, and I have whole days where I'll do presentations, and to have the kids respond back. It's like the kid inside here goes, hi, and the kids down there go, hi, and it's, oh good, I've got all these ready-made friends, and I listen to their responses, and I get a lot of energy from that, and I kind of lock it in here, or maybe I lock it in here and I take it home. And when I'm drawing, I will have music I enjoy going and focus on what's the best that can come out of me at the time.
Is your inner mood very important when you're drawing? Say you're in a down mood, would that affect your choice of color? Would that affect your choice of design? Or as an artist, do you rise above all of that sort of thing?
Oh, that's hard to say.
Because I know that if I'm in a certain mood, I might pick out certain clothes in the closet, certain colors, and I just wondered if that worked in a professional way.
I have a lot of red in my closet.
Well, maybe it does. Maybe it does work. What does an artist's studio look like? Do you just work at, as a writer, I sit behind the computer for hours, and it's pretty boring stuff. Not when I'm writing, hopefully, but the routine of it. What is it like in what kind of environment do you write in?
Well, my studio is not right now a bedroom that I've reclaimed. I've moved in my computers and my drafting table and lighting, and I have a whole bunch of my art supplies in there. I keep music going a whole lot of the time, or public radio. And I have dead time. I mean, I have times when it's like fill in the blank, or it's real boring and tedious, and I let my mind go. There's some real mechanical parts to what I do, particularly the kind of art that I do. I'm very tight and precise in what my paintings are. So a lot that happens in my painting is very planned. It's not spontaneous, oh, whoops, I knocked over the purple.
Do you revise a lot?
No, I don't. That's real funny. I start out with a real rough, tiny sketch called a thumbnail, and then I enlarge that and I polish it up some more to where I start getting the composition I like, and I play with features. Now, when I'm drawing an actual character, I'll practice their expressions over and over. The part that takes me the longest is any of the characters that I will do.
How do you know when something's right?
Oh, it will click. There's a sensation that there it is, and a lot of times for different expressions I'll be holding up a mirror and going and
Looking
you know,
at all, yeah.
and then one picture.
I've heard that about you.
Yeah, well, I'm drawing when I'm doing it. I'm not just doing that for fun in front of a mirror.
When you draw people, characters, do you ever base those on people you've known?
Oh, absolutely. I've got everybody I know stuffed into my work. I've had grandmothers that passed away years ago that the grandmother idea comes up in my head, and all at once I'll start recognizing them. I will grab my kids, I'll grab their friends, I'll take pictures of neighbors, I'll do all sorts of stuff. Everybody's there.
Or sometimes the drawings that finally come out composites of several different people. Does that ever happen?
That happens a lot, and a lot of times the characters that I like the most will start developing the same facial expressions I have. Of course, when you're the one looking in the mirror, it's going to look like you.
Are there certain things that you just can't draw, that you're not comfortable drawing?
I haven't found anything yet. I'm not real fond of machines. I'm not real fond of the idea of I'm going to draw a jet plane, or I'm going to draw an automobile and an engine. Anything that's extremely mechanical in concept, I'm not nuts about. I've drawn them. I put them in. I love things that are more organic.
Do your drawings sometimes surprise you? Turn out in ways that you hadn't anticipated?
Yes, they do. They all do. I'll have it in here as to what I want, and it will be different, yet it will have the feeling that I had behind it. And that's what means the most to me, that anything up here isn't clear. And once it's down there, it's reality. There, it exists. So.
Do you remember when you added certain touches to certain paintings, when you had breakthroughs? Can you remember the times and the settings and all that?
Sure.
Is it that vivid for you?
Oh, sure. I've got several that are kind of like, oh, and this is when I really got over that hump there, and oh, this one up here on the wall is important. In this book, there are several illustrations where I was real glad nobody with a large butterfly net was lurking around the house, because I'd be working on it and laughing. I'd think, oh, this is so good. Oh, this is so har. And then I'd think, boy, I hope everybody agrees with me. I hope everyone else laughs too.
Did you ever do something and think it was just wonderful, and then look at it maybe the next day and say, you know, I'm not sure this is quite as wonderful as I thought?
I'm trying to think. No, I haven't. In fact, I usually, this must be back when I was 4 years old and my Nana was telling me it's great. I build on things, though. I'm not real fast in my illustrations. I do the sketch and then another sketch and then polish and then draw and then sit on it and work on it and work on it until it's exactly where I want it to be. And then I'll start the painting and I build the painting and the colors. So it's like watching a plant grow or anything and bloom and bear fruit. It's that kind of a sense, instead of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. A lot of artists will do something real spontaneous and splashy and then tear it up the next morning, and I'm not that spontaneous.
Kim, are you ever tempted to repeat yourself when you do something? Well, I know when I was in first grade, I drew a rabbit the teacher liked, and then that's all I drew for the rest of the year because I wanted that praise and that affirmation. Does that happen, I mean, on your level?
Well, sure, but it's called doing children's books. I do one book and then another book and then another book. And I love that. I love doing this. It's really fun.
Now, you told me, now I can't draw, I tell myself I can't, that really I could probably if I had some basic lessons. And you brought a sketch pad and a marker and you were going to do something with shapes here.
Yes.
It just sounds otherworldly to me.
Oh.
Okay, good. Trusty
The
pen.
handy dandy pen.
Okay, is that just a regular pen or is it a magic pen of some kind?
No magic, no magic.
Okay, just a regular pen.
It's just a magic marker. And one thing in art that it sounds so simple and it gets boring real quick to think about is everything's made up of shapes. If you're going to draw a person, you train your eye to see them, but you don't say, I'm looking at my friend Teresa Miller. I'll say, I'm looking at a series of shapes. And I'm already starting to do that. I'm looking at you right now and starting to break down the shapes that I see.
That's why I'm a little nervous.
Okay. I won't draw you. I won't draw you. There's a character in Green Snake Ceremony that I'm real fond of, and people would ask many times, how do you draw your characters over and over and have them in different poses? A lot of times I will do what's called a maquette. It's a small carving of a character. Other times I will practice what their shapes are that make them up. And I'll do a quick shape here. Am I seen pretty well here?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
this?
I think so.
Okay. Okay. A lot of people can draw a candy cane. This is kind of a green looking candy cane here. And I'm going to do another smaller candy cane that's backwards next to it. I'm going to do a straight line, and then I'm going to do a semicircle. And I've done 4 lines, 4 shapes. And if you want to do that and you want to break down your characters, which is what I do, I've got Herman, and he's a little green snake, and he is kind of the star of Green Snake Ceremony. I'll have him curl off this way, and I will say Herman.
All based on shapes. Say, would you autograph that for me? I've moved into a new house and I need some furnishings.
Here, I'll give a little Herman heart for you.
Oh boy.
And Herman for Terry.
Is that a great thrill for you, Kim, is to be at the point where people are wanting your autographs on your work and they want your sketches and they want to know all about you? Is that exciting?
It is, and it's a little funny feeling. It's I mean, I'm just me. I'm a person. This is something I do that I love, and I feel very lucky and grateful for the chance to do it. And yet, at first I was going, oh, you don't want my autograph, you don't. And then I thought, no, if I were a kid, that's fun. And so I thought, well, this is something that's fun for everybody, so I enjoy it too now. And I draw. I do have. Oh, here, let me do one more sketch.
Good. I was hoping you would. I didn't want to take advantage.
Oh, no. This is something I like to do, too. When I sign my name for Green Snake Ceremony, I sign it on a book. I sign in green pen. And then I give everybody their own green snake. And they can share a Herman green snake too.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I wish I could do that, Kim. I can't do it. I mean,
well,
even with the
shapes. We can do Teresa Miller with a green snake.
Oh, yeah, that would be real popular, I'm sure. I'll aim at that. You've had 2 very successful collaborations where you worked with the author of White Bead Ceremony and Green Snake Ceremony. Terrific books. First of all, tell us a little bit about the author and a little bit about the storyline of these books.
Okay, Sharon Watkins is an attorney. She lives in Haskell, or she practices in Haskell, Oklahoma. And she's Shawnee. Her family had white bead ceremonies. This is a Shawnee naming ceremony that they have. All kids get a white bead necklace tied around their neck, and usually the people will gather together and discuss dreams they've had of the children. They name them after animals or events that they really admire. If they want a child to grow up to be strong and firm, they might name them after a bear. If they want them to be fast and service-oriented, maybe they would name them after a horse. The little girl in this is named after the horse group. The Greyfeather family is in both of these books written by Sharon Watkins, and another ceremony that they do is the green snake ceremony. It's an empowering ceremony for children when they are about school age.
Well, I tell you, they're both beautiful, and we're going to talk some more. We're going to look at some more of your illustrations, Kim, so hang around.
I will.
We'll be back after a brief break with more from Kim Donor.
This is an RSU-TV Encore presentation of Writing Out Loud.
Hello everyone, I'm Teresa Miller and welcome back to Writing Out Loud. I'm visiting with Kim Donor, the illustrator of Green Snake Ceremony and White Bead Ceremony. You were just telling us about the Green Snake Ceremony, that rite of passage. Kim, do you think the visual images help these stories stay in the minds of young readers?
Oh, sure. When you go to a visual level, you can get children who are not reading yet. You can show pictures and explain a story. And if it has no pictures, that's not going to reach that group. Also, people who are more visual than auditory will pay more attention to a picture book. It's expanding. Picture books are starting to grow. Even adults are starting to collect them now. Art's become so expensive that now you collect picture books.
Mm-hmm. And you had mentioned that this was a collaboration. You were the illustrator for Sharon
Mm-hmm.
Watkins. What's it like when you're working with someone? Is it difficult to illustrate someone else's words?
Yeah, it is. You really want to please them, and you will read the story and try to visualize what it would mean to them along with what it means to you. I did speak to Sharon before I started White Bead Ceremony. I went out to her house. I would ask her certain things her family might do, certain ways they would dress, how they might do their hair. That was real important to me. And I had a lot of Native American friends when I was growing up and visiting my grandparents. And although it's not my culture, I've got that as a native Oklahoman. I also have like a Cherokee background.
Is it customary for the illustrator and the author to work very closely together?
No, that's very, very rare. Many times an illustrator and author will never meet. And when I was a kid growing up, I always thought they must be best friends.
Oh, I thought so.
And it's not. The difference is, I've been told, is between a birth mother and an adoptive mother. It's a lot like they have had this wonderful baby and it's perfect in every way, and the publishing company takes it and chooses who is going to bring it to adulthood. And it's frightening as an illustrator because you have to have freedom to do your own work and do what you feel is best compositionally and character development and in an entire scene. Sometimes what a writer might have in their minds cannot be illustrated or would not be illustrated well for the picture.
You told me before the show that sometimes it's even written into the contracts that writers and illustrators don't meet.
There are some large companies that do not allow them to contact each other. There can be a lot of trouble with something like that. If you're the illustrator and a writer calls you, have you gotten done with this scene? I want to make sure they look like that. Change their eyes to blue and their coat to green. That's too difficult. You're already working with a publisher, an editor, an art director. There can be a whole panel of people making those decisions already. And to have the writer doing the same thing is a whole lot more stress.
When you were doing Green Snake Ceremony, for instance, Kim, did you have quite a bit of creative license?
Oh, yes. Council Oak let me run with it, and I did. I had a great time.
And as if on cue, she holds up one of these
And
beautiful...
there is Herman. Yes, thank you. This is where...
I love this.
I do too. Herman is trying to figure out where to go hide. He is convinced they are after him and they're going to catch him. And in this picture, I have him dressed in his snorkelies, which I guess would be the sunglasses that a snake might wear, and a trench coat. He's going to hide in the Oklahoma underground.
Oh, I love
and
it.
It's Escape to Green Country, which is our area of the state. He's already flipped through the sidewinding Rattler's green pages of Greater Tulsa. And if you look really close in the illustration, you will see a lot of Tulsa and Oklahoma landmarks mentioned, such as Oxley Nature Center, Gilcrease, Philbrook, the Rose Garden. We have OU and even Jinx, Oklahoma, which is kind of my area of town.
But not Tahlequah, Oklahoma, which is my town.
Well, I know. I was hoping Herman, well, Tahlequah's here in this green part.
Oh, well, of course it is. And silly me, I missed that,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
without having my magnifying lenses on. But beautiful work. Kim, you do your work by hand, and of course we're living in a graphic, technological age. How do you feel about that?
I am a dinosaur. I am hoping that I can continue in my fashion, although I have taken computer classes. I even have taught one at TJC. Computers are going to be taking over a lot of art that we see. I would like to think that they don't entirely take over illustration, because there's something human about continuing to do work by hand to me.
I'm holding up another one of these beautiful hand paintings, and this one, oh, self-help books. Tell us about
yes.
this.
Oh yes, well, Herman has found out that they are trying to catch a green snake for reasons he's not especially excited about, and he doesn't want to be the green snake caught. So the first thing you might do, if you were such a snake, is to not be green. He's in the middle of a way to do some self-help and change himself, particularly his color. So he's reading Color Me Beautiful. He's on a page that says, are you blue because you're green? And he's trying to re-snake himself. He's also gone through a few other self-help books. He's got Tip the Scales in Your Favor, I'm Okay, You're a Snake, Cobra Pendant No More, Shed That Skin, and The 12 Slithers in homage to Serpents Anonymous.
Tell me, Kim, and I know you were having fun when you did this, is this for adults too?
Oh, yes.
Is this for the mother or dad that's reading the story to the kids? I mean, you know, Cobra-dependent behavior. I thought, you know, that's
Yes,
got to be.
Not many 6-year-olds have probably gone through that book, I admit. But Disney humor and Muppet humor, many of them will include things that everyone can laugh at, that everyone can have fun with, and why not? I mean,
Well,
why not? If you come up with stuff that's fun, I put it in. I like it. As I said, I sat and laughed all by myself.
Now, this isn't a wallet size of Herman.
No, that's not. That was for a promotional flyer that Council Oak did, and that's the original piece for how this turned out.
Yeah,
I don't
we
know
might
if
get
you
that
need
on
to
camera in a little
see that.
while.
I'll sit it up here and we can
we'll
catch it in a minute.
That's a great. How long does it take you to do something like that?
The one that you're holding up right now is probably about 20 hours, my guess. And the illustrations themselves for the book would be anywhere from 25 to 40 hours apiece.
And there are pencil markings on there. What do these notes say?
Oh, that's where it's divided up as to where the fold lines will go at the top. You can see that this is here and here and here, and on the other side I listed what scenes they might want to put for the flip on the flyer, so they would, yeah, that's.
How do you test your material and know if it's working? I know you've mentioned you go into schools, and do you ever take your work into schools? I know that you encourage young people to do the art. Do you take your work in and let them get a
I take
feedback?
originals with me, and I take stories with me. I've read stories to classes. I'll do 3 or 4 and say, do you like any of these, and which ones do you like the best? And kids are very free about telling you what they think. And I like that. I mean, I want that kind of honesty.
What about reviewers? Do you trust them as much as you do the kids?
You know, I haven't read that many reviews on the work. I don't know. Green Snake Ceremony hasn't been released to that many reviewers, of which I'm aware. I've read many, many favorable things on them, though. It's nice, and I still find myself thinking, yeah, but what do the kids think? They're the people I work for.
Mm-hmm. And they're the ones that vote by
Yes.
book sales and all of
Yes.
that. You've had some wonderful recognition coming your way. You won the Oklahoma Book Award for art and illustration and design. And what's that like? Do illustrators need recognition as much as writers?
Oh, no, not at all. Yes, it feels good. I could get used to that real easy.
Was it easy to get established in the business? Was it hard to get started? Did you have to go through a lot of submissions and so on before you actually made those first contacts?
Mine was a fluke. Most of the time it takes several years of sending your portfolio out over and over, going to meetings and conferences, doing a whole lot of work for the community. Now, I have done a lot of things for the community, and I painted portraits for years. I did freelance artwork for years. And when Council Oak was looking for an illustrator for White Beach Ceremony, they hadn't had children's books done by an illustrator before. So they didn't know that if they just opened their front door and said, "We need an illustrator somewhere," that 6,000 would be at their door.
Well, sure.
And I was referred to them, or they were referred to me. I don't know how to say that. They called, and I mean, I was out there, you know, "Yes, pick me, pick me. I would love to do an illustration."
Was it a thrill when the book first came out?
Oh yes, it was like, "Oh, it's Christmas. Oh, I can hardly wait." And you slowly go through each page. "Oh, it's real."
It's real and it's wonderful. And now you've turned to writing. I say
have.
turn to writing. Is really writing and the visual art a lot coming from the same place?
They feel like it to me. I think in pictures, and yet I'm a fairly verbal person. I've never had many losses for words, as you may have noticed.
No, that's one of the things I like about you.
Oh, well, thank you.
And do you think with your books, do you paint word pictures when you're writing?
I do both. It combines it. I can't tell where one stops and the other begins. That's real hard to say. I have written another story, and Council Oak is working with me on it, called Buffalo Dreams, and we're hoping that it will be out next spring. And I'm in the middle of a third book right now that's going to be done in black and white. It's The Buffalo in the Mall.
And you're doing that with?
Molly Griffiths through Aiken Press. And Molly is the author of a poem, and she is a mile-a-minute person. She's hysterically funny, and she called me up and said that she and her sister had been reading Green Snake Ceremony and were laughing so hard they were rolling on the floor. Would I please illustrate her book? What do you say to that? You say, "Okay."
And will we see more of the captions in that?
Oh, I'm going to have funnies all through Buffalo in the Mall.
Someone asked me the other day, Kim, and said that we're getting to be such a visually oriented society that she thought books would one day disappear, that we would just simply have videos, computer technology. Do you think that's true?
Oh, I hope not. I really love to go to bed with a book. I really like to have that kind of escape. And books are an escape for me. Not an escape in a I don't want to deal with reality, but how many other ways do you have of living in so many worlds? There is no other way you can have as many lives as you can when you read.
Well, Kim, congratulations on Green Snake Ceremony and White Bead Ceremony and the Oklahoma Book Award and all these wonderful things that are coming your way. I hope you'll come back and visit us again. Kim Donor, thank all of you for joining us on Writing Out Loud.